Sometimes at the end of a semester in college or even in high school, a good teacher will try to draw all the lessons that they were taught in whatever class it was together into some kind of a final summary to see the pattern or the sense of it all. We're at the beginning of a liturgical semester. As we mentioned last week, we're in that long period of Sundays until Advent in which we will not meditate and ponder the life of Jesus, what he suffered, where he was born, but we will dwell on what he taught us and how he directed us. And that's why last Sunday we were given the story of the disciples who were sent out to continue around the countryside what Jesus had been preaching and doing. Now, we are, of course, the successors of those people that were sent out. We have been sent out by the virtue of our baptism to wherever we live in order to bring the reality of Jesus into our own culture, family life, nation, wherever. The word of Jesus and the behavior of Jesus is the model and the material of these many, many Sundays that we'll be passing through towards Advent. Jesus said, "I will put my spirit in you." The continuation of the presence of God in the world in Christ is now handed on to us. Paul said, "I don't live now, but Christ is living in me." And yet we live in a society which tells us a lot of the things that are directly contrary to what Jesus taught and did. He constantly let people come to him, turn no one away, listen to them, healed them, and brought them back to the right path if they had strayed. And yet we live in a culture which tells us, mind your own business. It's not your problem. Don't get involved. Leave well enough alone. Our whole culture is built on what we call individualism. Well, if we are going to be true to the call of discipleship, it's impossible to follow the dictates of our culture and at the same time the command of Jesus to take the good news to everybody that we encounter. Not verbally so much, not by preaching, but by living the Christian way of life, reaching out to others in their need. And this is something which our culture is really shying away from, because if you mind your own business, you won't get involved in another's need. You won't be involved in the suffering and pain of your neighbor, whether it's the neighbor next door or even a member of your own family, or nationally, people in other countries, or people who come here to this country. We're involved in a great swell of minding your own business and keeping your head down and not getting involved. And I think we Christians eventually have to be able to raise our heads in some way. How this is done is up to individual, and sometimes to groups of individuals, be they dioceses or parishes, or even individual Christians. But we have to strain against this selfish self-centeredness which is part of our culture, or we will not be following the command of Jesus to go and tell the world the good news. The good news is that despite our failures and sins, we are loved by a Father who sent his Son to be one of us at great cost to him. So the Sundays ahead until Advent are time for looking for ways in which I can do something to turn the tide away from this self-centeredness, this individualism, and this selfishness, really, which is invading society, even in politics and even in the church in some places. There is a graduation at the end of this semester, but it won't come until we stand before the throne of God. But remember the famous saying of John of the Cross, "In the evening of life, we will be judged on one thing, love." And remember, love means concern for others in their needs.